Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunamilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Anupeta Apeta Krityam Rapayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Tadavo Vinedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatusmi. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Abhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptashtakamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanada Vindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvayavina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Okay, so today is the appearance day of Sri Gadadhara Pandit. And we're going to begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Tarsat Sri Simad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Tarsat Sri Simad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Gosvami Maharaj under our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga, all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, and especially today to the divine lotus feet of Sri Gadadhara Pandit. When Mahaprabhu appeared, there's some speciality. He appeared to teach the world the complete conception of Paratattva, the absolute truth, through devotional principles, by practicing them himself and by immersing himself in the highest devotional moods, he came to present the highest, most beautiful, most expressive forms of love of God. And in order to do that, he appeared in a way that was different from any of the other avatars or incarnations. He appeared in 5 features. He appeared as himself, the original personality of Godhead, in the mood of a devotee, complete devotee. His first expansion, Sri Balaram, appears with him as the chief limb or assistant to his pastimes, as the Akhanda Guru Tattva. And then also as the avatar of the devotee, Advaitacharya, who is the incarnation of Mahavishnu, sometimes said Sadashiv, Mahavishnu, non-different, but that form of the Lord takes that form in order to manifest the material creation, oversee it, and protect it. So Advaitacharya represents that tattva. Right? And then Gadadhara Pandit, who is his own Shakti, his complete Swarup Shakti, none other than Srimati Radhika herself. And then Srivas Pandit, who represents the devotee, the devotee in the sense of like us, right? All those. He represents parikars who appear with the Lord as devotees. Kaya Vyuha expansions, he also represents all of the jivas that are aspiring for this perfection. Each of these personalities have their own special relationship with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and their role, the relationship of Gadadhar Pandit and Lord Chaitanya is very special. See, whereas in Goloka Vrindavan, Advaita appears as Lord Shiva, right? This is the original form of Sadashiva, Gopeswara Mahadev, and he appears as Shiva and as Gopeswara, and he has many different pastimes. Lord Balaram appears as himself, and he engages as Krishna's older brother, the leader of the cowherd boys. He also expands himself in a special form as a Nanga Manjari so that he can taste the full extent of rasa. He can't taste Madhurya Rasa as Lord Balaram, but he can taste it as a Nanga Manjari. And so he serves in that way as Radhika's younger sister. And Srivas Pandit, who is Narad Muni, appears as Narad Muni in and out of Krishna Leela in Goloka. And the origin of that Narad Muni is also Madhu Mangal, one of the Priyanur Masakas. But Gadadhar Pandit is Radhika herself. And the roles in Goloka Vrindavan are all roles of different moods of service, right? Some are in Sambandha, and then they have a relationship with Krishna as mother, father, friend, servant, even trees, Hare Krishna, birds, rivers, they're all serving in a relationship, right? But then there are Radhika and her expansions, the gopis, Kaya Vyuha expansions, and all those sadhan siddhas who, following those moods, have been graced by Srimati Radhika to enter into her company and are empowered by her, by the Samvit and Ladini Shakti, to taste Madhurya Ras, right? And so they engage with Krishna in loving, sweet pastimes in Kamarup. There's Sambandharup and Kamarup. Kamarup means to fulfill Krishna's desire in beautiful, sweet vilas in the mood of beloveds, right? So Gadadhar Pandit, Srimati Radhika, is the chief of all of those. So as Radhika, she is Krishna's most beloved lover, consort, the leader of all the devotees in Vrindavan. But in Gauranga Leela, everyone is appearing as a devotee. And most of Mahaprabhu's associates are appearing in male form, right? And they have a mood of dasya to Mahaprabhu, because he comes as the ultimate teacher of devotional principles, and they're following the etiquette of that as servants. The idea of externally tasting Madhurya Ras in the body that everybody has in Mahaprabhu Leela is completely forbidden. They all have the mood of like sadhaks, actually. And they are immersed in the deepest moods of prem, but externally they're following the sadhan of bhakti very, very strictly. Even though they are raganuga, following the moods of spontaneous devotion, those who are in raganuga, they also follow perfectly the moods, the strictures of Vaidhi Bhakti. Right? Some that they can neglect that aren't favorable for their internal mood, but ordinarily they're following the same rules and regulations, but in a different way. They're also hearing, they're also chanting, they're reading, they're going to the temple, but they're not motivated by the rules of the scripture. They're motivated by internal attraction, spontaneous love for Krishna and all of these activities related to him. So, Gadadhar Pandit, Srimati Radhika, is also a servant of Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar Pandit appears about a year after Mahaprabhu in Navadvip, a year younger than Nimai Pandit, and always very devoted to Nimai Pandit, but also has a different mood, right? His mood is very submissive, following very carefully. Deep love for Mahaprabhu, but always assisting. Right? Assisting what? Assisting Mahaprabhu in his pastimes. There's and expressing and experiencing his love of God. But this is sometimes misunderstood. Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj gave a very beautiful lecture about this one time. You can read it in Follow the Angels, that particular book. But he prefaces that particular lecture. There's a whole series of lectures that precedes it, which explains the evolution, the development of bhakti step by step. And in it, he describes the moods of Gadadhara Pandit with certain language that expresses a kind of mood, but it was misunderstood by many people. It created a kind of a controversy. They didn't fully grasp the depth of his explanation. And so in Hawaii, I think whether it was 2000 or 2002, some of the devotees of Srila Gurudev had some clash with the devotees of Srila Sridhar Maharaj who were trying to say certain things about Gadadhar Pandit that they had misunderstood from hearing Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and Srila Gurudev reconciled all of that and their misconceptions and balanced it, right? Because he's much more qualified to understand the moods of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, because he is, in fact, a disciple of Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj, who is very dear friends with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, who took sannyas from him. And there are many, many stories in the biography of Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj where Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj have very intimate dealings and deep conversations. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj was also very, very close with our Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who considered him like a Shiksha Guru. So, I'm going to read a lecture given by Srila Gurudev, but this is given in 1993 and translated. It was given in, I guess it must have been in Mathura. Let's see which one. No, not that one. Not that one. Did I lose it? I didn't lose it. Come on. I'm lame, but I'm not that lame. Let's see. Not that. Not that. No. All right, I'll read this one. This is given in the West in Los Angeles. Ooh, I was there. May 30th, 2000. Yeah, okay. So this is Gurudev speaking about our Srila Prabhupada as well. And he said, Srila Swami Maharaj came to this world with a mission of ISKCON, Vaishnavism. What was that? It is the same mission as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And who is Mahaprabhu? The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. But he is also more than that. He is not only Krishna, he is the combination of both Srimati Radhika and Krishna. He is combined with Srimati Radhika, his own power. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to always be absorbed in Radha's mood. Radha's beauty was there, and her intrinsic mood, which Krishna did not have. Radhika has Adiruddha Mahabhav, and even more than that. Krishna's mood goes up to Mahabhav. But after that, how to serve and how to please Krishna, he does not know. He will have to learn by going to the school of Vishaka Devi and sometimes to Lalita Devi. When did he go to the school of Vishaka Devi? As Mahaprabhu. When did he go? He went to the Godavari and met with Sri Roy Ramananda, who is Vishaka. And that entire conversation is Vishaka instructing him, and we don't get all of it. They spoke for 7 or 10 days, all night long. We get 320 verses, right, in that chapter, which you can read in an hour or so if you read straight through. Imagine all the depth of what they would. We get a condensed version, which gives us a taste, gives us an introduction. But the elaborations on those subjects that we're hearing must have been so profound, so extraordinary. But he went to here to get taught like that. Right? Now, that's a Leela. In one sense, because when we read the Chaitanya Bhagavat, we see that Mahaprabhu goes through many different kinds of pastimes, from his very young age to his school days, and then finally to meeting his guru, and then going to Gaya, taking initiation, coming back, manifesting his devotional moods, and then going to Puri to experience the deep separation that Radhika had after Krishna had gone to Dwarka. Right? But everything is in Navadvip. And even while he was a scholar and his devotional sentiments were hidden from the world, he was pretending even not to be interested in it. He was walking around all of Navadvip as an arrogant scholar, just going and defeating everybody as the topmost of all scholars. And he would even taunt and tease his own devotees. Right? His own devotees were there, Mukunda and Gadadhara Pandit and so many others. He would, Kolavecha Sridhar, he would see them on the road, call to them, and then engage them in some debate on grammar or something scholarly, Naya, right? And they were not interested in that. They were all deeply absorbed in devotional moods, and yet he would taunt them, and they would go back away shaking their head, because as eternal associates, they were immersed deeply in pure devotional moods, but Yogamaya covered them in such a way that they couldn't recognize their own beloved Nimai Pandit as the Lord of their life. They saw him in his beauty and his extraordinary qualities, and just like the inhabitants of Vrindavan loved Krishna for his quality and nature, never considering that he's God, these associates, these parikars, were looking at Nimai and saying, oh, he's so wonderful in every way, we have such love, if only he were a devotee. And he would torment Gadadhar Pandit in the same way. And Gadadhar Pandit would tolerate, but again, wishing, oh, if only he could show these sentiments. Sometimes Mahaprabhu would go into a deep state that appeared to be like epilepsy or some madness, even when he was a scholar and nobody could understand it. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was saying, the entire time he was internally absorbed in Mahabhav, and sometimes it would reach such an extreme condition that it would appear externally like that, like some disease, right? And then when he went to Gaya and came back fully manifesting his devotional sentiments, then it was Gadadhar Pandit that would take care of him. And sometimes those sentiments were so strong that people would think that he'd gone mad. They'd tell Mother Shachi, oh, you should tie him up. You should give him this medicine, that medicine. Bind him, otherwise he'll hurt himself or hurt somebody else in his madness. Only Gadadhar Pandit could pacify him. And Gadadhar Pandit would come and hold Nimai in his arms and whisper into his ear. And then the madness and the thrashing would calm down. And Mother Shachi had such affection for Gadadhar Pandit because of everyone, only he could control and pacify Nimai, because Gadadhar Pandit understood what was going on in the heart of Mahaprabhu. And he would speak to him and soothe him, right? So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to always be absorbed in Radha's mood. Radha's beauty was there and her intrinsic mood, which Krishna did not have. Oh, I read that. Okay. So, sometimes Lalita, sometimes Vishaka helping him. Without the help of Lalita and Vishaka, he cannot relish the mood of Srimati Radhika. So this was the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to give the service of these moods. Krishna himself could not do this. But when he took the beauty and the intrinsic mood of Radhika, he could then relish everything in Gambhira under the guidance of Sri Damodar Lalita and Ramananda Roy Vishaka. At this time, Gadadhar Pandit was watching to see if Mahaprabhu was playing his role perfectly or not. If he would make a mistake in the mood of Radhika, he would twist the ears of Krishna. He would say, "Oh, you are doing wrong. You should do it like this." When Mahaprabhu was singing, "Varaha Paridam Nata Varuvapu," Gadadhar Pandit quickly came and said, "Oh, you should do like this." This is a famous verse from the Bhagavatam, from the 21st chapter, one of the most beautiful descriptions of Krishna given in the Bhagavatam. Wearing a peacock feather ornament upon his head, blue Karnikara flowers on his ears, a yellow garment as brilliant as gold, and the Vaijayanti garland, Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, beautifying it with the marks of his footprints. He filled the holes of the flute with the nectar of his lips, and the cowherd boys sang his glories. He was perspiring, his heart melting, and his tears were falling like heavy rain. There was some defect in Krishna, and Gadadhar Pandit therefore instructed him. To think that Krishna had taken away the beauty and intrinsic mood of Radhika and had become Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that Gadadhar Pandit had thus become Rukmini is quite wrong. It is not like this. Because Srila Sridhar Maharaj had said, he had stolen Radhika's mood, right? And Radhika was now bereft, like a beggar, right? Like Rukmini. But that was not understood. What it meant was that as Gadadhar Pandit, he was exhibiting moods like that, because Rukmini is submissive, right? She's right-wing. Satyabhama, Rukmini is like a Chandravali, and Satyabhama is like Radhika with some man. And so, as Gadadhar Pandit, as with all, he absorbed a mood of dasya, of submissive service. However, it's not that his identity and internal mood was bereft, but his service was changed, right? And the example is given, I think Srila Sridhar Maharaj gave this example. Maybe Gurudev, I don't know, I've read these. Anyway, it's like a man and a woman. They're married together. They have a relationship. They're husband-wife. It's full, sometimes it's conjugal, that's the nature of husband and wife. But the man may, every morning, go onto the altar. Because in Vedic culture, the man did the worship and the wife would assist. So he would go on the altar, and then he would begin to serve the deity with archan, with puja, right? And then the wife, she would assist, bringing this article, bringing that article, assisting her husband. At that time, they're both giving up their identity as husband and wife. He's serving the deity. She becomes his assistant. There's no question of conjugal relationship or anything else. They're just servants of Krishna. So in Mahaprabhu's Leela, Mahaprabhu is giving up Krishna's identity as the hero, as the Nayak. He's not engaging with beloveds and lovers in that way. He's engaging with all of those devotees, all of those gopis who appear along with him as his male associates. And they're all engaging in internal, deep devotion to Krishna within their hearts. right? And Mahaprabhu, he's identifying as Radhika herself. Sometimes as other devotees, sometimes he's in the mood of Ram Bhaktas, sometimes he's in the mood of Manjaris. He's tasting all the different kinds of rasa of service to Krishna, primarily, however, the mood of Radhika. And at that time, there's no question ever of tasting the mood of Nayak. And so, his associates are not tasting the mood of Nayika in relationship to Mahaprabhu. They're tasting the mood of service to Mahaprabhu as teacher, as guru, and they're all entering internally in whatever their mood is. Some of his devotees are Ram Bhaktas. And sometimes Lord Chaitanya engages in Ram Leela, storming the fort. It's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Nityananda Prabhu also engaging in these Leelas. But never are they taking the mood of enjoyer themselves. So Gadadhar Pandit is also having to give up for that identity the idea that I am the beloved of Krishna. Because Krishna in this incarnation is the greatest devotee. So Radhika, her greatest pleasure and service is giving pleasure and service to Krishna, right? Giving him the whatever it will require to make him happy. So Gadadhar Pandit is serving her beloved, allowing him to taste the ecstasies that she tastes. And so she's in the mood of dasya, but she's never bereft and never limited in any way, right? I'm going to quick shift over to this Gadadhar Astakam. Now, this is written by Sri Swarup Damodar. And so he's going to explain who is Gadadhar Pandit and some specialities. So, Bhakti Yoga Lasinam Sadavaje Viharinam Hari Priya Ganagrajam Jashit Sutta Prichech Varam Sarada Krishna Sevana Prakachakam Mahachayam Bhajam Yaham Gadadharam Supanditam Gurum Prabhum. I worship the greatly learned and exalted spiritual master, Srila Gadadhara Prabhu, who appears very splendid, engaged in the Lord's devotional service. He always performs pastimes in Braj, where he is very prominent among the gopis who are very dear to Lord Hari. Lord Chaitanya, the son of Shachi, is the dear Lord of Gadadhar Prabhu, who is preaching the service of Radha and Krishna. So internally, Gadadhar Pandit, he's always performing pastimes in Braj, and indirectly saying, very prominent among the gopis. But in this incarnation, he is serving his Lord and Master Mahaprabhu in his service of understanding and preaching the glories of devotion. And then the next verse, I worship the greatly learned spiritual master. He's also the spiritual master of Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda, although those two are apparently more intimately connected with Mahaprabhu because they're assisting him in the Gambhira, they're with him all the time. Gadadhar Pandit is not. Why? Because Gadadhar Pandit is Radhika. And so if he and Mahaprabhu associate too much, too intimately, their own internal intrinsic moods might be stimulated. So Gadadhar Pandit doesn't go to Vrindavan with Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar Pandit does not go into the Gambhira. However, Mahaprabhu does have very wonderful association with Gadadhar Pandit, going to visit him at Tota Gopinath and other places, very profound and deep and loving conversations. Right? So, I worship that greatly learned spiritual master, Srila Gadadhara Prabhu. He is expertly absorbed in meditation on the 9 rasas of devotional service, beginning with Ujjvala Ras, conjugal love. And he dances in the waves of the amazing ocean of devotional service to Lord Chaitanya. He preaches the path of Raganuga, spontaneous devotional service, and he is a fit person to attain residence in the transcendental love of Braj. transcendental land of Braj. I worship the greatly learned spiritual master, Srila Gadadhara Prabhu. The best of those who are devoted to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, the son of Shachi Devi, offer respectful obeisance to him and treat him with great importance. And he is very dear to Lord Krishna, who is seated in the middle of the lotus flower, which is his heart, assuming his golden form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He preaches that Lord Mukunda has assumed the golden form of Lord Chaitanya, and he returns the living entities to their constitutional position as servants of the Lord. Right. So this is his role. When it says he's seated, who is seated in the middle of the lotus flower, which is his heart? That's Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is in the heart of Gadadhara Pandit. Right? And actually Gadadhara Pandit, as Gadadhara Pandit and as Radhika, is in the heart of Sri Krishna. They're non-different. And this is something which is inconceivable to us, because Krishna, not only as Lord Chaitanya and as Lord Krishna, two separate forms, but the same person, all the different incarnations are also directly Krishna. But they're manifesting different degrees of their Krishnahood, their Bhagavata, in order to exchange service with devotees of different moods. But they're all Krishna himself. Lord Ramachandra, when he's in Mamagachi, Modudurmadweep, speaking with Sita under the banyan tree, smiling inwardly, seeing his own pastimes in the future as Lord Krishna, as Lord Chaitanya, telling that to Sita, oh, in the future, you will experience pastimes with me, then I'm Krishna, then I'm Lord Chaitanya. They're the same, but they're showing less to receive service from different kinds of devotees, right? Lord Ramachandra teaching the principles of perfectly following all the instructions of Varnashram with the mood of devotion, right? Maryad Purushottam, teaching love of God through the perfect adherence to the rules and regulations of Vedic teachings. And Lord Chaitanya showing this extraordinary pastime as the devotee, but not taking the role of Nayak, taking the role of the complete and perfect devotee, and even going through the different stages that a sadhak would go through. That's the amazing thing. First, he appears as a scholar, completely disinterested, right? Completely disinterested, apparently. Remember, internally, he's always who he is. But then what happens? He's always receiving the blessings of the Vaishnavas. Oh, may Nimai be a devotee, right? He's always with the Vaishnavas, dealing with them. And then one day, by chance, he meets his guru, Ishwar Puri, on the road in Navadvip. And they have an attraction for each other. And then for the next many weeks, they visit every day and discuss. And they discuss different scriptures. And then he begins to develop attraction and deep faith by hearing from that personality. This is the Leela. It would appear like that, right? But actually, Ishwar Puri, he's experiencing the great joy of meeting his own eternal master, but by Yogamaya, he's going to take the role of guru. Just as by Yogamaya, none of these eternal associates know that he's Mahaprabhu, right? And it makes it even more sweet, these pastimes, their frustration with him. But then they see, oh, he's meeting very nicely at the house of, what was it, Gopinath Acharya. They're meeting every day. Oh, this is very nice. And then he goes to Gaya ostensibly to perform the Shraddha ceremony for his father, who has left this world. But then again, he meets his guru. Then he receives initiation. And then immediately he's imbued with full love of God. And he comes back, and everybody's astonished and happy, right? And then he shows himself. All these amazing symptoms that they realize nobody has ever exhibited such high-level symptoms of love of God. And they wonder, could he be an incarnation of God himself? How could he have such symptoms? But Krishna can't exhibit these symptoms. He can't exhibit these symptoms because he is the object of devotion. He says as much. It's revealed in Chaitanya Charitamrita. What are the ecstasies of Radhika and my devotees? They are experiencing something I can't comprehend. They're experiencing a joy I can't taste. It even exceeds my own. I'm Rasa Vaisaha. I am the very form of rasa and transcendental pleasure, and yet there's something beyond me. I wish I could be like them. I want to experience the moods of Radhika. I want to know what it's like to be a devotee. I want to know what she sees in me that excites such extraordinary emotion, and I want to taste her ecstasies. Right? So, with these three desires, by the mercy of his most beloved, eternal, non-different counterpart, the two merge and merge in a sense. They eternally maintain their separateness, but at the same time, in the body of Mahaprabhu, they're like one. She covers him with her own moods and emotions, right, of devotion, imbues him with them. And this extraordinary form, Rasaraj Mahabhav, no one had ever known or seen this before, this combined form of Radha and Krishna. And so he assumes this form, and then he preaches, now, what more? I worship the greatly learned and exalted spiritual master, Sri Gadadhara Prabhu. It is only because of him that the truth of the exalted devotional service performed by the intimate associates of Krishna in the forests and groves of Vrindavan has been revealed. He is preaching the ecstatic love attained by the gopis, and he is indeed a personification of the mellows of devotional service. The saintly devotees take shelter of his lotus feet, and he teaches the truth of spiritual life to the living entities. It is only because of him. Nikunja sevanadika prakashanaika karanam sada sakirati padamaha rasa sarupakam. Oh, it's not broken up. Sada sakirati padam maharasa sarupakam sada chitangri pankajam sariri sadgurum varam bhajamyaham gadadharam supanditam gurum prabhum. Right. Only because of him. In that line is embodied one of the most confidential truths in our line, Rupanuga Guru Varga. We always talk about Nityananda Prabhu as being a Khanda Guru Tattva, the supreme manifestation of the truth of Guru, right? What is Guru? He embodies that completely. We all must and have to take shelter of Nityananda Prabhu. But hidden behind that is that the ultimate principle of Guru is Srimati Radhika, Radha Dasyam. This is spoken confidentially, and you'll read that in Srila Prabhupada's purports, hidden away. He says that a few times in extraordinary ways. Srila Gurudev all the time, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, maybe next time when I come back, we'll read his commentaries on the 4 Chatushloki of Bhagavad Gita. Where in Bhagavad Gita does anyone talk about Radha Dasyam directly? But he speaks about that in these 4 shlokas and shows how that is secretly hidden. And Gurudev has spoken about that in also the verse before Sarvadharmam Parityagya. You know that verse? Mana bhava mad bhakto. Gurudev reveals the secret idea of Gopi Bhav, Radha Dasyam, being the highest principle. So here, Srup Damodar, who is the teacher of teachers, the teacher to Raghunath Das, our Prayojana Guru, the teacher to Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, right? Intimate associate of Mahaprabhu, one of two most intimate. He's saying, oh, the teacher of all is Gadadhar Pandit. And then I worship the greatly learned spiritual master, Srila Gadadhar Prabhu. He is very dear to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it is as if he had sprouted from the manifestation of the Lord's ecstatic love. Who is the Lord's ecstatic love? Mahabhav Sarupini is Radhika herself. And he's saying, oh, it appears as if he is that very manifestation. He is always adorned with the garments of ecstatic love of Godhead. And he delights Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by arousing in the Lord the ecstatic emotional love experienced by the gopis of Braj. Herein is what Gurudev has always said, that he's actually the teacher of Mahaprabhu. And this is also hidden away in many places in the Chaitanya Bhagavat as well. That verse that Gurudev is saying that Mahaprabhu spoke and Gadadhar Pandit corrected, when Mahaprabhu first began to display his ecstatic moods, Gadadhar Pandit heard about this. And Mahaprabhu said, the next day, let us all meet in the house of Shuklambar Brahmachari, and that'll explain the mystery of my moods to you all. And so Gadadhar Pandit was there, but he was hidden in the next room. And it was then that Mahaprabhu spoke that verse to the devotees. And Gadadhar Pandit would elucidate and give even, because that verse is a vision, the gopis describing that beautiful form of Krishna. But what is the depth of their feeling? What is the depth of their mood? Describing Krishna, that flute, the ornaments, all the udipan, the form, right? The udipan of his garments, his flute, his dress, his very form, and the alambana of their love in the form of him as the Vishaya, and they as the Ashraya of that love, right? So this Gadadhar Pandit could reveal that, because growth in love of God, it never ends. Prem has no ceiling. Even the gopis, even Radhika, it's an ever expanding, extraordinary experience. It never stops growing. And so Gadadhar Pandit is the very embodiment of ecstatic love, adorned with the garments of ecstatic love of Godhead. When you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, the description of Ramananda Roy, describing Radhika's garments, her ornaments, they're all aspects of her love, all taking form, all these aspects of her love taking form and adorning and making her even more beautiful. I worship the greatly learned spiritual master, Srila Gadadhar Prabhu, who expands the mellows of devotional service and whose lotus feet are worshipped by the kings of the Brahmanas. Among his confidential associates, Gadadhars, he reveals his actual form as Srimati Radharani. He distributes the nectar of the ecstatic mellow of the gopis' conjugal love, strictly following the instructions of all the devotional scriptures. So externally, to reconcile, if you ever read what Srila Sridhar Maharaj is saying, as a beggar, bereft, in the sense that he's not with Mahaprabhu as Radhika, right? But internally, nothing is lost, right? Mahaprabhu took his mood, but, as Gurudev has said, he himself has moods of devotion. And if by hearing from him, you develop some of those moods are awakened in your own heart, does that mean he loses his moods? No, he doesn't lose anything, right? Even in a gang, you got your gang leader, your little gaggle, your little group, and somebody's following the initiative, the inspiration of that person. Does that person lose their talent, their qualities, their charisma because somebody else is imitating or following them? No. So How could Radhika lose anything? This is a extraordinary role that she's playing in order to allow Krishna to taste devotion in the highest way. If externally she displayed her mood as Radhika, then Krishna couldn't fully taste because he'd be drawn back into his role as Krishna. That's why Gadadhara Pandit does not go into the Gambhira. Because in the Gambhira, Mahaprabhu is tasting the mood of Viyogini Radhika. Radhika in profound separation. And so if he were to go there, then he would be tasting those moods in such a strong way internally. Radhika would be so present internally that it could awaken Krishna's own internal identity. And it would be unfavorable. So he keeps separate. Right? So in that sense, right? I worship the greatly learned spiritual master, Srila Gadadhara Prabhu. With delight, he is giving the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya, which reveals the nectarian ocean of the most exalted mellows of devotional service, along with the nectar flowing from the lotus feet of the gopis, headed by Srimati Radharani, who is most dear to Krishna. Gadadhara Prabhu is decorated with the 8 transcendental ecstatic symptoms of Sattvika Bhav, and he is distributing devotional service to his worshipable Lord Krishna. So he's giving the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya. He's teaching others how to be devotee. That's what he's come to do. For what purpose? To reveal the nectarian ocean of the most exalted mellows of devotional service, which is described in the very beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? Samart payatam unnata ujvala rasam svabhakti sriyam. This is our aspiration. This is our goal. On this day in particular, Gadadhara Pandit has appeared, and this is what he has come to give. Mahaprabhu didn't come alone. He came with his associates who could teach us, right? Who came to assist him in that. And who is the most exalted teacher? Who is Krishna's teacher? Krishna says, Radhika is my guru in all things, in understanding the mellows of love, in dance, in flute playing, in wrestling. Radhika can do everything because she's Krishna's very power. And so from Gadadhara Pandit flows this power to understand and to enter into this Leela, right? What? The nectarian ocean of the most exalted mellows of devotional service, along with the nectar flowing from the lotus feet of the gopis, headed by Srimati Radharani, who is most dear to Krishna. Right? He's teaching how to enter into the path of himself in his eternal role, or not role, but, he is Radhika herself. So, and 8 transcendental ecstatic symptoms, Sattvika Bhavs. No one but Radhika can experience these Sattvika Bhavs to the highest degree in the heightened stages of Mahabhav, right? The blazing stages. And she gifted that to Mahaprabhu, and we see something of that in his extraordinary display, which even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya recognized. Oh, these symptoms are displayed, that I see displayed by him. The scriptures say no one but, the Lord himself and Radhika herself could ever experience anything like this. This is not an ordinary person. And then I worship the greatly learned spiritual master, Srila Gadadhara Prabhu, even a conditioned soul whose mind becomes anointed by the colorful waves of spontaneous devotional service as delineated by Sri Gadadhara Prabhu, quickly attains the highest level of devotional service. He becomes like a maddened bumblebee whose mind is anointed with the mellow of Ujvala Ras. So how do we get that? We're on that Vaidhi Bhakti platform, right? But in the Jaiva Dharma, It's instructed in the chapter on Raganuga Bhakti. First, Vaidhi Bhakti, all the rules and regulations. But then, in this next chapter, it says that if one performs Vaidhi Bhakti with the aspiration of Raganuga Bhakti, then your practice will be guided by that. And if by hearing about this you develop some enthusiasm, some eagerness for that, and then you practice your Vaidhi Bhakti with a kind of utsaha nischayat daryat, joyful enthusiasm, great confidence, and patience, then very quickly. But you have to practice a Vaidhi Bhakti informed by Raganuga. And what are the Raganugas? They're constantly engaged. Constantly engaged. Not sometimes engaged. It's very hard to be constantly engaged if you're only engaged by the rules and regulations of the Scripture. Because the rules and regulations of Scripture, what's the impetus? Philosophical conviction, some fear, some guilt, right? See, the dog has eagerness to see the deity, to hear it's not completely perfectly manifested. He's maybe eager for his mistress, right? But that, because he was doing it in front of the deities, get some Sukriti. Get some Sukriti. It's true, So, anointed, right, by the colorful waves of spontaneous devotional service. So practice your Vaidhi Bhakti in a way that if you were a Raganuga, you would be practicing it. Not that you're internally absorbed in tasting those mellows. That's sahaja, prakrita sahaja. But you want to taste those mellows. You don't want to be bound by these horrible material desires, these stupid distractions that limit us, that reduce our bhakti, and just keep us immersed in the cesspool of material desires. When these things come up, just reject it. I don't want this. I don't want this. I want what they have, right? That's what I want. I remember when old Gautama was in Bangalore in the beginning, and that's what he's talking about, the Harinam. I want that. I want that. And that's how we should all be feeling, right? I want that. I want to be like the associates serving under Gadadhara Prabhu. I want to be among those associates of Sri Damodar, of Rai Ramananda, those extraordinary personalities in the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. That's what I want. These 8 verses glorifying Sri Gadadhara Prabhu distribute the nectar of the most exalted mellow of devotional service. You're hearing them. Hearing them will give you this nectar. And they are like a festival for the gopis of Braj. Right? Non-different. This pastimes in Navadvip, pastimes of Vrindavan, they overlap, they mingle. Right? Not the identities, but how are they a festival for the gopis of Braj? Because the gopis of Braj are in those pastimes also. But they're in different forms to relish the pastime of assisting Mahaprabhu, Krishna, in his tasting of the moods of Radhika and distributing the moods of devotion to all living entities. This is the most amazing thing, that devotion is so extraordinary that God himself has come to want to taste it. So why are we resisting? It's so amazing that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has come from Braj to Mayapur to taste these moods himself. Is there any lack in that role, in that mood? None at all. It's extraordinary. Does Gadadhara Pandit have any lack? None at all. It's in divine Leela. So, if one regularly reads these verses and serves the lotus feet of Srila Gadadhara Prabhu, who is an incarnation of Srimati Radharani, then he will become qualified to attain the jewel of pure devotional service for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, the son of Shachi Devi. So we're not qualified to perform Gopika Gopi Seva in the mood of the gopis yet. We can aspire for it, but we can gain entrance to it by serving Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Sri Gadadhara Pandit, Srivas Thakur, and all of the parikars of Mahaprabhu in Navadvip Dham, being taught how to perform devotion, being taught the beauty of devotion. Again, Gadadhara Pandit giving up his role as direct lover of Mahaprabhu, of Sri Krishna, to taste the mood and the role of serving Mahaprabhu and tasting devotion. So they complement each other, Braj Ras and the Ras of Navadvip. So this is Gadadhar Pandit Prabhu's appearance day. We pray to him, this great guru, this great, it's Srimati Radhika herself coming to teach us. I mean, I'm just, when I think about this, I feel so inferior and unqualified. However, they know that. And they came to lift up even us. And millions of people before us have been lifted up. As inconceivable as it is, even people more unqualified than us have been lifted up. I know we all think that we're the most unqualified, but when one devotee went to Srila Prabhupada one time, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen," and, bowing down, and, Srila Prabhupada said, "You're not the most fallen. You're not the greatest, you're not the most fallen, you're simply insignificant." That's what we are. We're not the greatest or the least of anything. We're just one of unlimited, teeny-weeny little entities in this universe, in millions of universes. There are more living entities in this room than you could possibly count. And then what is this room? It's one tiny speck in some tiny town and some tiny state, some tiny country, some tiny, weeny little planet. How vast this universe is. How many living entities everywhere? Trees, grass, bacteria. We're so insignificant. And yet, look what we've been given. Look at what was being shown before us. So then we just, say, Bhajamyaham Gadadharam Sapanditam Gurum Prabhum. Right? I worship the greatly learned spiritual master, Srila Gadadhar Prabhu. So, we'll stop here. So unqualified to speak on a subject matter, but hopefully didn't say anything wrong. If I did, it's my fault. It's on me. It's not coming from Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, or any of our followers, just my lame misunderstanding. And if anything was good, it's from them. Okay. Gaur Premanande Hari Bol.